Hello, students. Good morning, everybody. Today I am here again with you to teach you a new chapter, the squirrel. This is the second chapter of your textbook, Honeycomb. This is a very short poem, but it's a very beautiful poem whose poet is Margaret Bowers Armstrong. Dear students, this is about an animal, a rodent known as squirrel, which you might have seen in parks or gardens or in those areas where big trees are there. Generally, when you go to a park to play in the evening, you might have seen a squirrel. A squirrel is a small and a very cute, attractive animal. The poem is on a squirrel, and it's a very short 6-line poem in which the poet has tried to let us know something about this animal. As I've told you that a squirrel is a rodent which runs around trees and eating nuts. Generally, nuts are the most favorite food of a squirrel. Whenever we imagine about a squirrel, we always see or feel or think that a squirrel is eating a nut. Here are some things about a squirrel which has been told by the poet, and we will know that the squirrel has all those characteristics. The poet describes a squirrel which he finds in his garden sitting on a tree. The poet says that the squirrel has covered its body with a grey fur coat. Although their body structure is like that, the squirrel's body is full of fur and it has stripes on its body which creates which makes it more attractive due to the stripes of its body, and the furs also make it very attractive. It is when the squirrel sits, generally it sits on the tree in a bending posture. It sits bent, and when it sits like that, its furry tail also get bent, and it gives a shape of a question mark. The tail is a bushy tail, and which is very beautiful, and the squirrel is, whenever we see a squirrel, we always see it very lively, very active, and very naughty also. So the squirrel is full of life and it seems very happy. Whenever the poet and his companions, his friends, want to play with the attractive squirrel, it teases them. As soon as they go near the squirrel, it runs away to the another side. The poet finds the squirrel very innocent but naughty, and it is very lively and active, as it likes to tease whoever comes to see it closely. So no one has ever been successful to catch a squirrel. The squirrel is also described as a smart and carefree creature. It doesn't care about anything, and it knows very well how to save and care itself. So Whenever you go to park or a foresty area or an area where lots of trees are there, if you search, you might see a squirrel around you. Generally they are found on the trees eating nuts, but if you want to catch them, you will never been able to catch a squirrel. We haven't heard anybody ever caught a squirrel because it runs very fast and it will be soon out of your sight whenever you want to go near it. So, dear children, it's a very beautiful poem. Generally, we don't talk about a particular rodent or a squirrel like that, but in poems, you will find them, and there are some poets who describe or narrate beautifully about these animals, and whenever you read about them, you will get pleasure reading them, because in today's life where we are very fast and living a very fast life, and like we don't have time to appreciate nature or trees, flowers, animals, insects, creatures, birds, all these things, then these poems help us a lot. So, dear students, sometimes read good books on which these animals or birds, other things, some very beautiful things about nature are described, and when we read them, we get a lot of pleasure. During this lockdown period, you might be noticing that since vehicles are not there, people are at home, so there is no pollution outside and there is greenery everywhere. The air is so pure and we are so healthy nowadays. Since we are staying at home, since we are not polluting our areas, we are keeping our areas neat and clean, we are spending time with our parents, our loved ones, we are learning beautiful things at home. We are learning cooking. Children are learning to cook. They are helping their parents at home. And since all the people are at home, we all are together, we are talking to each other, and we are able to know each other very well. Like generally, your parents are working, your parents are not there with you all the time at home. Nowadays, they are with you, they are spending time with you, and we all are so happy with each other and spending a very valuable and very precious time together. So, dear children, we know it very well. I hope you have understood the summary of the poem. Now, for better understanding, kindly read the poem again at home, loudly, in front of your parents, with correct pronunciation and intonation, and try to understand the summary, the meaning. It's a very easy poem. You can understand it by yourself also. And with this poem, since it's a very small poem, you can also learn how to compose poem of your own. You can take some another topic, any other animal or any other topic, and you can also write a poem of your own by using beautiful words, and you can also compose or create or write 6-7 lines poem yourself also. By that your vocabulary sense will be also improved, and you will also have a better knowledge of English. So students, we will write the question answers. We have very few questions in this chapter. Kindly open your copy and write it neatly on your copy. Before writing the question answers, students, kindly write the poem. Since it's a small poem, kindly write the poem in your copy. Like if you don't have book, you can see from here. I'm showing it on my own book. And if you feel, you can draw the picture of a squirrel also. Then your copy will look beautiful. Now, get ready to write the question answers. These are the 3 questions given on your book. It is from working with the poem. It is given as working with the poem. The first question is, why does the poet say the squirrel wore a question mark for tail? Again I am telling, why does the poet say the squirrel wore a question mark for tail? How would you describe its tail? There are 2 parts in this question. Why does the poet say the squirrel wore a question mark for tail? Question mark. How would you describe its tail? The answer is, the poet says the squirrel wore a question mark for tail. Wore a question mark for tail will be within double inverted commas. I'm repeating. The poet says the squirrel wore a question mark for tail because the shape of the tail of a squirrel sitting bent on the ground looks very similar to a question mark. At the place of ground or a tree also you can write. I am repeating this answer once again. The poet says the squirrel wore a question mark for tail because the shape of the tail of a squirrel sitting bent on the ground or a tree. You can write or a tree also because it is mentioned in the poem that the squirrel is sitting on the tree. But the squirrels sit on grounds also. So, but you should add or a tree also. Okay. Because the shape of the tail of a squirrel sitting bent on the ground or a tree looks very similar to a question mark. I repeat the answer once again. The poet says the squirrel wore a question mark for tail because the shape of the tail of a squirrel sitting bent on the ground or a tree looks very similar to a question mark. I hope you have written. The second part of the question's answer is, the second part of the question was, how would you describe its tail? The answer is, I would describe a squirrel's tail as a furry cloth pinned together, attached to its back. Answer is, I would describe a squirrel's tail as a furry cloth pinned together, attached to its back. Question number 2. Do we usually say that an animal wears a tail? I repeat. Do we usually say that an animal wears a tail? What do we say? Question mark. Or for your help, it is written, does an animal wears a coat? The answer is no. We do not usually say that an animal wears a tail. Rather, we say that an animal has a tail. I repeat the answer. No, we do not usually say that an animal wears a tail. Rather, we say that an animal has a tail. Question number 3. Within double inverted commas, you will write this. He liked to tease and play. Who is teasing whom and how? I repeat. He liked to tease and play. Who is teasing whom and how? The answer is the squirrel is teasing the poet and his friends. When the poet and his friends go near the tree where the squirrel is sitting and run around it, the squirrel immediately runs to another way in order to tease and play with them. I repeat the answer. The squirrel is teasing the poet and his friends. When the poet and his friends go near the tree where the squirrel is sitting and run around it, the squirrel immediately runs to another way in order to tease and play with them. That's all the questions which were there in your textbook in the chapter The Squirrel. I hope you would be able to write the answers properly. Let us write some questions for homework. These are the questions related to the poem only. If you have understood the poem, if you have understood the explanation of the poem, summary of the poem, it will be very easy for you. So write the questions, dear students. Number 1 is, what is being compared to a grey overcoat? Number 1 question is, what is being compared to a grey overcoat? Question mark. Question number 2. Give your views on the posture of the squirrel after reading the poem. Give your views on the posture, P-O-S-T-U-R-E, of the squirrel after reading the poem. Full stop. Third question is, what does the squirrel do if someone comes too close, T-O-O, too close to his tree? That means very close to his tree. I repeat, third question. What does the squirrel do if someone comes too close to his tree? Question mark. This answer is very easy. We have already done a type of question like that. You can take help from there. Now, fourth one is make sentence with the following words. These all words are taken from the poem itself. You have to make sentence with these words. First is overcoat, O-V-E-R-C-O-A-T. Second is tease, T-E-A-S-E. Third is straight, S-T-R-A-I-G-S-T. And fourth one is wore, W-O-R-E. These are the 4 words with which you have to make sentence. So students, I hope you like this poem and you might have understood the way I have taught. See children, you might be feeling problems or you are uncomfortable with this kind of teaching with the help of the videos. but we don't have the other ways to do anything. So keep on studying your own also. We are there for your help. We will think about some more convenient ways so that the teaching will be more beneficial. We are always there with you. Don't panic. There will be better teaching with better days, and we'll pray to God that we should see better days so that schools will be reopening and we will meet each other and we will have a fruitful teaching learning process. Thank you. Have a nice day. Stay safe.